Ladies and gentlemen, what a special treat we have today. We're in a 2007 997.1 Porsche GT3. It has a 3.6 liter naturally aspirated flat six that sounds amazing, as you're gonna hear shortly. We're pushing out 415 horsepower at 7,600 RPM with an 8,400 RPM redline, 299 pound-feet of torque at 5,500 RPM, and the car weighs 3,250 pounds. This has hydraulic steering, making it the last of the 911s with hydraulic steering before switching over to EPS. And it has variable ratio, but you're only going to be experiencing that at lower speed, so it doesn't really influence the higher speed spirited driving. In terms of suspension, we have strut front and multi-link rear. In terms of modifications, we have a Sharkworks center bypass exhaust, OZ Racing Ultra Legra wheels wrapped in PS4S tires, 305 in the rear and 235 up front. We also have some cosmetic mods, some canards in the front, some carbon fiber bits here and there, and Recaro Sportster CS seats with roll bar and harnesses. Now, the owner bought this vehicle for $90K a few years back, but a similar example in today's market will run you around $120,000 to $150,000. Now, with that being said, let's get on with it. Immediately getting into this car, it feels very, very special. By the way, one thing before we get to this more spirited driving, these seats are so far forward. They don't go that far back because of the roll bar. So as you can see, my knees are like 90 degrees right now, no joke. And if I get a little bit sloppy with my heel toes because of the awkward positioning, because I'm way too close, then please forgive me. Now, first impressions of this car, you guys know I love steering, and oh my God, this hydraulic rack is just truly phenomenal. I love this rack. Let's open this up though. Oh my God, this flat six howl is so addicting. My God, this red light is so high, I'm just instinctually granny shifting. And this wail is just so intense, I love it. Oh my God. When you first get into this car, you can just tell it's very race car. It's very purpose built, very much tells you what it's about. And the steering, like I said, I love. The shifter is very good, but you know, I watched some other reviews and they say that it's like the best, you know, if the S2000 up there is the best shifter under 50K, this is the best one beyond that. And I would disagree. At least, I mean, this is OEM stock, no changes to the shifter here. And there's just a little bit of lateral slop when it's in gear, which I don't like. It doesn't feel as tight as a result. I mean, going between gears feels great, but the notchiness is on point, but the actual, the tightness, I prefer that bolt action rifle kind of feeling that you get from the S2K. And you know, driving, you know, with any 911, having that rear engine, the dynamics are just a little bit different. You have so little weight over the front wheels that on throttle, you can get a good amount of understeer. Like that turn back there. Yeah, this is a special car. This car is some next level. I see why people love this. I mean, this feels so raw and purpose built. The engine, the way it howls and it eggs you on, oh my God. I mean, it feels so intense. Just like the RPM, the red line isn't as high as the AP1 S2K, which is 9,000, right? This is 8,200, but it feels very similar in intensity in terms of the crescendo, the build, the theater of it all. I mean, the sound of this flat six it's one of the best sounding engines I have personally heard. I love this. And it pulls, right? It pulls. Having that naturally aspirated engine gives you such immediate throttle response too. And for a purpose-built sports car, I prefer that. I mean, you're gonna get more power with the GT2, which has turbos, but you're gonna lose some of the sound, and you're gonna lose that immediate throttle response. So then things like heel-toe downshifts, or just modulating the throttle mid-corner is gonna be a little bit, oh yeah, there we go. With these rear-engine cars, it's so easy to induce understeer because you just have so little weight up front that mid-corner you give it a little bit of gas and you can just feel it push ever so slightly, which I like. It adds a nuance, a different flavor of driving compared to the traditional FR. You have to approach your driving slightly differently, trail brake a little bit up deeper into the corner, get more weight up front. All of the inputs of this car feel so heavy. Oh my God. The inputs are all so heavy. Oh, the steering, by the way, is amazing. The feedback, the weighting. Clutch in particular requires a lot of effort, which I personally like. It's also easy to feel exactly where the clutch engages, so it's easy to just hop into this car and drive it the way it was meant to be driven, because everything is just dialed in properly, except for the seat on this one car because of the roll cage. I can't get far enough. Is also heavy, and I feel that it should be in a sports car, right? The steering is heavy. Even the input of the transmission, right? It's going between gears. It takes a little bit more effort than the average manual transmission. So everything here feels a little bit heavier. But when you are going full race car, that's what you want. The reason being that it allows you to modulate. You can have a greater range of inputs to get the output that you want, right? Yeah, man, this is... God. Jimmy has quite an amazing car collection. His S2000, this car, his other S2000. Oh my God. This is good taste in cars. This is great taste in cars. Bumpy. We have PASM off, still quite bumpy. I mean, this car is not made for absorbing large imperfections in the road surface. This car is made for racetrack, #race car. If you guys can see on the interior, this is one of the reasons I don't like Alcantara on the major touch points. If you have it over here or on the dash, fine, but on the steering wheel, on the shift knob, the issue is that it's not going to wear as elegantly as something like leather, and it's not a big problem, right? But you know, when you're touching, you can feel some of that little bits and pieces here and there rubbing off on your hands, a little bit of that piling. The motion between gears is actually very satisfying. There's a certain amount of notchiness right as you get into neutral and then engage that next gear. It's just that lateral slop that to me feels a little bit underwhelming, considering what praise this car gets for all of its inputs. I think the gear selector is a little bit subpar. The steering is actually my favorite. The steering is so phenomenal. The way that it gives you feedback, that the weighting of it, the way it communicates as you load up and such. Just this to me is an ideal steering rack. Oh, this is what dreams are made of, baby. Porsche 997.1 GT3 windy road, going uphill. Got the ocean to the right. You know, even though these aren't ceramic brakes, I love the bite. I love how, I mean, these are confidence inspiring. Easy to modulate. But again, like all the other inputs, they require more force. You need to be pretty hard on the brakes to get this car to slow down. God, that naturally aspirated howl and immediacy of the throttle. What a fine specimen this thing is. You see, when a car communicates like this with the steering, and you can feel the body rotate because the suspension is also well sorted, you just feel it inspires confidence. It allows you to feel comfortable pushing the car even though you don't know it that well. Now, compared to the 997.1 Carrera I drove from the Zygreen YouTube channel, Fenton Sons, this is a completely different car. They don't even feel like the same vehicle, right? I mean, sure, you can see that the interior has a lot of carryover. There's a lot of similarities in terms of the design here, but even the steering feel on this feels substantially more direct, substantially more communicative. In fact, on his steering rack, when I first got into it, I was like, wait, is this EPS or is this hydraulic? Part of that could be the tires as well. He did mention that by changing the tires that adjusted the amount of communication, and it improved after he changed it from, I forget what tires he had, but I wonder if maybe the EPS on this unit is also different than the base Carrera. I'm not sure. But all the other inputs as well, it feels heavier, it feels more raw as a car. Obviously the cars are from the same generation, they feel from the same era, but it's very surprising how different the cars can feel. There's the way that this car communicates is just, I've never experienced anything quite like this. It's, you know, a car can have stiff suspension and you can feel bumps, which, I mean, this does, right? It's hashtag race car. But there's a certain way where I can feel like exactly where the bump is coming from, which wheel, combined with the steering feedback, combined with the way that the chassis communicates as I rotate it, as I'm loading up, as I'm getting a little bit of understeer, a little bit of oversteer. It just, I love this. This is what sports cars are supposed to be. And again, because it is rear engine, rear wheel drive, it also introduces that little bit of challenge. And what we find as humans, I mean, as drivers obviously, but even as humans, is that we like a little bit of challenge. If it's too challenging, you know, if I need to scale Mount Everest, probably not gonna be the most fun for me personally. But if I'm challenged the right amount, that's where the true magic happens. And for someone that is newer to the rear engine, rear wheel drive platform, this to me is just pushing all my buttons in all the right ways. God, what a fucking car, man. I don't really have any major gripes with this car. The biggest thing for me is just the seating position, and I think that's because of the aftermarket modification with the roll occasion seats here, because my knees are legit 90 degrees. But apart from that, it's just the shifter. There's a little bit of, you see that lateral slop? It's just a little bit too much for me. Everything else about the shifter, the notchiness between gears entering, that all is fine. That all feels great. It's just that lateral slop doesn't fit the rest, doesn't fit the expectations. The amount of pressure it takes to go from a very light minimal braking to full effort braking is a lot of force, which can feel like work, right? Especially when you're driving it hard, but that's the whole point, because it allows you to then modulate it very precisely. When you have this much range to work with, I can say, okay, I want 50%, I want 70%, I want 62.5% of braking power, whereas when brakes are a little bit too sensitive, it's harder to modulate that because the range is right here. So then you press a little bit and you jump from 20 to 50%. I fucking love this engine, man. It's funny, I have now 3 YouTube channels: Med School Insiders, Cayman Jubbal MD, Jubbal on Cars. Can you tell, can you guess which one of those 3 channels is the most fun for me to film and work on? I feel very spoiled being able to drive these cars so early on this channel. What special cars they are. And a huge thank you to all of those car owners that let me do reviews on their cars. Like Jimmy, awesome guy, really kind, really generous, letting me drive and review so many of his cars. Yo, sorry man, you're not getting your car back, I'm keeping it. Your garage is next level, dude. All right, here we go, one last pull. Yes, please. Now, for a sports car, this has everything you want. Obviously not a daily driver. If you want a one-car solution, this ain't it. You don't get a Porsche GT car for that, right? But as a track weapon, as a dedicated sports car, you can enjoy this car even on the twisties. You don't have to go on the racetrack. Clearly, I've been having a lot of fun here, not on the racetrack. What a special car. Now, this is really the end of an era, right? In certain ways, because modern sports cars, they don't really have the same level of raw, visceral sensation that when you get into this car, it feels very race car. You feel the steering, you feel the noise, you feel like you're in something that could be dangerous, right? And that's where part of the excitement is. This car just speaks to the car enthusiast, the driving enthusiast, I should say, in a way that I haven't really felt with any other car. To date, this is my favorite driver's car. What a car. Goddamn. Thanks for watching, my friends. See you all in the next one.